I, 28F, have always been close to my older sister Lisa, 32F. We grew up in a small town called Millbrook, where everyone knew each other's business. Our parents, John, 60M, and Mary, 58F, raised us to be honest and look out for each other. Lisa was always the responsible one, getting good grades and following rules, while I was more rebellious and outgoing. Despite our differences, Lisa and I were inseparable. We shared a room until I was 15, and even then, we'd spend hours talking about our dreams and fears. Lisa always wanted a big family and a successful career, while I dreamed of traveling the world and becoming a writer. When Lisa met Mark, 34M, at a local charity event 5 years ago, I was initially happy for her. Mark seemed charming and successful, everything Lisa had always wanted in a partner. He came from a wealthy family in the city and had a high-powered job in finance. Lisa was smitten from the start. I remember the day Lisa introduced Mark to our family. Our parents were impressed by his polite manners and career success. But something about him made me uneasy. Maybe it was the way his eyes lingered a bit too long on me, or how he seemed to talk down to Lisa when explaining his job. I brushed it off, thinking I was just being overprotective. As Lisa and Mark's relationship progressed, I noticed small changes in my sister. She started dressing differently, wearing more makeup, and seemed constantly worried about pleasing Mark. Once, I overheard Mark criticizing Lisa's choice of career as a high school teacher, saying she could do better if she really applied herself. I tried to voice my concerns to Lisa early on. We were having our weekly sister night, watching rom-coms and eating ice cream, when I brought it up. "Lisa, are you sure about Mark? He seems a bit controlling," I said carefully. Lisa's face fell, and she accused me of being jealous because I was single at the time. After that, I learned to keep my opinions to myself to avoid causing tension. Mark proposed to Lisa after just a year of dating. The wedding was a lavish affair, with Mark's family sparing no expense. I was the maid of honor, forcing a smile as I watched my sister say I do to a man I didn't trust. During my speech, I focused on Lisa's kindness and how much I loved her, carefully avoiding any mention of Mark. Over the next few years, I saw Lisa less and less. Mark always seemed to have a reason why they couldn't attend family gatherings or why Lisa was too busy to meet up. When we did get together, Lisa would talk about their fancy vacations or the expensive gifts Mark bought her, but she never quite seemed happy. About 6 months ago, Lisa and Mark invited me over for dinner at their upscale apartment. Lisa had to work late at school, grading papers for her students, so I arrived before her. Mark offered me a glass of wine while we waited, and that's when things took an uncomfortable turn. He started complimenting my appearance, saying things like, "You and Lisa look so alike, but you're the prettier sister, aren't you?" I tried to laugh it off, but then he stood too close to me, his hand brushing against my arm. I stepped away, making an excuse about needing to use the bathroom. When I came back, Mark acted like nothing had happened. Lisa arrived soon after, apologizing for being late. Throughout dinner, Mark was overly affectionate with Lisa, kissing her cheek and holding her hand. But he kept shooting me these knowing glances that made my skin crawl. After that night, I avoided being alone with Mark. I made excuses to skip family gatherings or only showed up when I knew Lisa would be there. This went on for months, and I could tell Lisa was getting hurt and confused by my distance. She'd call and leave voicemails asking if she'd done something wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. Things came to a head last week at our parents' 35th anniversary party. The whole family was there, including our older brother Tim, 35M, and his wife and kids. Mark had been drinking heavily all night, making loud jokes and embarrassing Lisa. I was helping my mom in the kitchen when Mark cornered me in the hallway. He reeked of alcohol as he leaned in close, saying, "You know, Lisa's great, but you're the one I really want." Then he tried to kiss me. I pushed him away hard, causing him to stumble back into a side table. The crash brought people running from the living room. Lisa saw Mark straightening up and me backed against the wall. She demanded to know what was going on. In that moment, all the months of stress and guilt came pouring out. I told her everything, about the dinner, the comments, and now this attempted kiss. Lisa didn't believe me at first. She accused me of being jealous and trying to ruin her marriage. We got into a huge fight right there in the hallway, with her calling me a liar and me insisting I was telling the truth. Our parents tried to calm us down, but years of pent-up frustration were spilling out. In front of everyone, Lisa turned to Mark and asked if what I said was true. To my shock, he admitted it. He tried to downplay it, saying it was just harmless flirting and I was blowing things out of proportion. But Lisa was furious. She threw her glass of wine in his face and told him to get out. The party ended in chaos. Lisa left in tears with our mom, while Mark tried to follow her. Our dad and Tim had to physically restrain Mark and force him to leave. I was left standing there, feeling relieved the truth was out but guilty for causing such a scene on our parents' anniversary. Since then, Lisa has been staying with our parents. She's filed for divorce and isn't speaking to Mark. But she's also barely speaking to me. She texts occasionally to let me know she's okay, but says she needs space to process everything. I know I did the right thing by telling her the truth, but I can't help feeling like I've ruined my sister's life. Our family is divided, with some people supporting Lisa and others saying I should have kept quiet to preserve the marriage. Tim is furious with me, saying I should have told him about Mark's behavior so he could have handled it man to man. Mark's family is on the warpath. His mother called our parents' house, screaming about how I'd always been jealous of Lisa and had made up lies to steal her husband. She threatened to sue me for defamation and said they'd make sure I never worked in this town again. The situation has affected my job too. I work as a journalist for the local paper, and my boss pulled me aside to say that Mark's father, who owns several businesses in town, had threatened to pull all his advertising if they didn't fire me. My boss is standing by me for now, but I'm worried about my future here. I'm torn between feeling justified in my actions and feeling guilty for the fallout. Every time my phone rings, I'm afraid it's going to be more bad news or someone else yelling at me. I've started having trouble sleeping, replaying the events over and over in my head and wondering if I could have handled things differently. Part of me wishes I'd spoken up sooner, maybe when I first noticed Mark's controlling behavior. Maybe if I'd pushed harder, Lisa wouldn't have married him in the first place. But another part wonders if I should have just kept my mouth shut and let Lisa live in blissful ignorance. I love my sister more than anything, and the thought of losing her over this is killing me. But I also know that staying silent would have meant betraying her trust and everything our parents taught us about honesty and integrity. So, Reddit, Ida for telling my sister about her husband's behavior and essentially causing their divorce? Should I have found a different way to handle the situation? And how do I move forward from here, with my family divided and my reputation in tatters? Update 1: It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and the situation has taken several unexpected turns. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. Reading them helped me feel less alone in all this mess. Lisa finally reached out to me last week. She asked to meet for coffee at a small cafe on the outskirts of town, away from prying eyes. I was nervous but agreed. When we met, Lisa looked tired and worn down. She broke down crying almost immediately and apologized for not believing me initially. She explained that she had been in denial, but after thinking about it, she realized there had been signs of Mark's behavior that she had ignored. Lisa told me that after she kicked Mark out, he started drinking heavily. He would show up at her workplace, causing scenes and begging her to take him back. She had to get the school principal involved to keep him off the property. This behavior only confirmed for her that Mark had serious issues she'd been overlooking. What Lisa told me next shocked me to my core. Apparently, about a week after the blow-up at our parents' anniversary party, Mark drunk dialed Lisa late one night. He thought he was leaving a voicemail and went on a long, rambling confession about various affairs he'd had throughout their marriage. The most devastating revelation was that he'd been sleeping with Lisa's best friend Sarah for over a year. Lisa played me part of the voicemail, and hearing Mark's slurred voice admitting to all his infidelities made me feel sick. Lisa was devastated but said this information helped her realize that Mark's behavior with me wasn't an isolated incident. She thanked me for having the courage to tell her the truth, saying I'd probably saved her from years more of betrayal. We spent hours at that cafe, crying and talking. Lisa shared more details about her marriage that she'd kept hidden. Mark had been controlling their finances, giving Lisa an allowance despite her having her own job. He'd isolated her from many of her friends, always finding excuses why they couldn't socialize. Lisa admitted she'd been unhappy for a long time but had convinced herself that's just how marriage was supposed to be. I felt guilty for not seeing how much Lisa had been struggling. I apologized for distancing myself instead of finding a way to talk to her sooner. We both agreed to work on being more open and honest with each other going forward. However, our reconciliation was short-lived. The very next day, I received a cease and desist letter from Mark's lawyer. He's threatening to sue me for defamation, claiming I made up the story about him hitting on me to break up his marriage. He's also threatening to sue Lisa for a larger divorce settlement if she doesn't retract her claims about his infidelity. Lisa and I are both scared. Neither of us has the money for a legal battle, and Mark comes from a wealthy family with connections. We don't have concrete proof of his behavior, just our word against his. The voicemail Lisa had saved was apparently inadmissible as evidence because Mark didn't know he was being recorded. To make matters worse, Sarah, Lisa's former best friend, is backing up Mark's story. She's denying any affair and saying that I've always been jealous of Lisa's relationship. She's telling people that I manipulated Lisa into believing lies about Mark because I couldn't stand to see my sister happy. Some of our mutual friends are starting to believe them. I've received nasty messages on social media calling me a homewrecker and a liar. Someone even spray painted the word slut on my car. The local rumor mill is working overtime, with news stories about my supposed promiscuity popping up daily. The stress is taking a toll on my health. I've lost weight and am having trouble sleeping. My doctor prescribed anti-anxiety medication, but it makes me feel fuzzy and unfocused. I'm struggling to concentrate at work, and my boss has noticed. He's been supportive so far, but I'm worried about how long that will last if this situation continues to escalate. Lisa is urging me to retract my story to avoid legal trouble, saying we can't win against Mark's resources. She's scared of losing everything in the divorce and is considering going back to him just to make all of this go away. I'm horrified at the thought of her returning to that toxic relationship, but I also feel guilty for putting her in this position. I feel like I'm being punished for doing the right thing. My parents are supportive but worried about the impact this is having on the whole family. Tim is still angry with me, saying I should have let him handle Mark instead of causing all this drama. Mark's family continues to harass us, with his father using his business connections to make things difficult for our dad's small accounting firm. I'm feeling overwhelmed and don't know what to do. Part of me wants to stand my ground and fight back, but another part is terrified of the potential consequences. I never thought telling the truth would land me in such a mess. The idea of giving in to Mark's demands makes me feel sick, but I'm scared of what might happen if I don't. Should I stick to my guns and risk a lawsuit, or should I give in to Mark's demands to protect myself and Lisa? How do I balance standing up for the truth with protecting my family and my future? I'm lost and could really use some advice on how to navigate this nightmare. Update 2: The past month has been a whirlwind of events, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. About a month ago, after much soul-searching and discussion with Lisa, I decided to stand my ground and not retract my story about Mark. Lisa was initially upset with me, fearing the legal repercussions, but ultimately supported my decision. We both agreed that giving in to Mark's threats would only empower him further. As promised, Mark followed through on his threat and filed a lawsuit against me for defamation. The stress of the impending legal battle was taking a toll on both Lisa and me. We were struggling to find a lawyer who would take our case, given Mark's resources and connections. Most lawyers we approached said we had little chance of winning and advised us to settle. Just when we were about to give up hope, we received an unexpected ally. Mark's ex-girlfriend from college, Emily, reached out to Lisa through social media. She had heard about the divorce and lawsuit through mutual friends and wanted to help. Emily revealed that she had gone through a similar experience with Mark years ago, where he had cheated on her and then threatened legal action when she tried to expose him. Emily shared her story with us, and it was chillingly similar to Lisa's experience. Mark had been controlling and manipulative, isolating Emily from her friends and family. When she finally broke free and tried to warn others about his behavior, Mark's family had used their wealth and influence to silence her. Emily had been too scared to fight back then, but she saw our situation as a chance to finally stand up to Mark. Emily introduced us to a lawyer friend of hers who specializes in cases like ours. The lawyer, Catherine, agreed to take our case pro bono, saying she had seen too many victims silenced by wealthy, abusive partners. Catherine was a firecracker of a woman, with years of experience taking on powerful opponents. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. With Catherine's guidance, we started building our case. Emily provided a sworn statement about Mark's past behavior, and we put out a call on social media for any other women who may have had similar experiences with Mark. We were careful to word everything in a way that couldn't be construed as defamation, simply asking if anyone had information relevant to our case. The response was overwhelming. 5 other women came forward with stories of Mark's inappropriate behavior, ranging from workplace harassment to full-blown affairs. 2 of them had documentation in the form of text messages and emails. It turned out that Mark had a long history of preying on women in vulnerable positions, using his charm and family's influence to avoid consequences. Armed with this new evidence, Catherine filed a countersuit against Mark for emotional distress and legal intimidation. We also reported his behavior to his workplace's HR department, as some of the incidents had occurred with coworkers. The tables have turned, and now Mark is the one on the defensive. His lawyer has reached out about possibly settling out of court. Lisa's divorce proceedings have been put on hold pending the outcome of these legal battles. While I'm relieved that the truth is coming out, I'm also exhausted by this whole ordeal. The constant stress has taken a toll on my health and relationships. I've lost weight, my hair is falling out, and I've developed stress-induced eczema. I've had to take a leave of absence from work to deal with everything, which has put a strain on my finances. My relationship with Lisa has been strained as we navigate this legal minefield together. Some days we're a united front, other days we argue about how to proceed. Lisa is still processing the betrayal of her marriage and sometimes lashes out at me unfairly. I'm trying to be patient, but it's hard not to feel hurt when she questions my motives or actions. Our family is still divided. Our parents are supportive but worried about the toll this is taking on both of us. Tim has come around somewhat, apologizing for doubting me initially, but he's still uncomfortable with the public nature of the legal battle. Some extended family members still blame me for starting all this trouble by speaking up in the first place. The small-town rumor mill continues to churn. While many people have rallied behind us after hearing about the other women's experiences, others still believe I'm the villain in this story. I've lost friends who think I should have kept quiet, and I feel isolated and alone much of the time. I'm seeing a therapist to cope with the anxiety and stress, but some days it feels like an uphill battle. I know we're doing the right thing by standing up to Mark, but at what cost? The idea of a long, drawn-out legal battle is daunting, but the thought of letting Mark get away with his behavior is even worse. I'm trying to stay strong, but some days I wonder if it would have been easier to just stay quiet. The stress is affecting every aspect of my life. I'm having trouble sleeping, jumping at every noise and constantly checking over my shoulder. I've started having panic attacks, something I've never experienced before. Despite all this, I know we can't back down now. Too many women have been silenced by men like Mark, and it's time someone took a stand. I just hope I have the strength to see this through to the end. I could really use some advice on how to balance seeking justice with preserving my mental health and relationships. How do I stay strong in the face of all this pressure? And how do I rebuild my life once this is all over, regardless of the outcome? Update 3. It's been a long and difficult journey, but I finally have some closure to share. The legal battle with Mark concluded last month, and the results were better than we could have hoped for. As our lawyer Catherine built our case, more women continued to come forward with allegations against Mark. His company couldn't ignore the mounting evidence and launched an internal investigation. They uncovered a pattern of harassment and misconduct going back years, as well as evidence that Mark had been using company resources to conduct his affairs and silence his victims. Mark was fired from his high-paying job, which significantly weakened his position in both the lawsuit against me and his divorce proceedings with Lisa. Without his income and with his reputation in tatters, Mark's family finally stopped supporting him financially and legally. Faced with mounting evidence and loss of financial stability, Mark agreed to settle out of court. He dropped the defamation lawsuit against me and agreed to Lisa's terms in the divorce. He also had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, preventing him from spreading false stories about us or retaliating in any way. The settlement included a public apology from Mark, admitting to his behavior and acknowledging the harm he had caused. While it doesn't undo the damage he's done, it felt vindicating to finally have the truth recognized publicly. Lisa's divorce was finalized last week. She didn't get as much in the settlement as she would have if Mark had kept his job, but she's just happy to be free of him. She's started therapy to work through the trauma of her marriage and our family conflicts. She's also reconnected with some old friends and is slowly rebuilding her support network. Our relationship has improved, but it's not fully healed. We're both working on rebuilding trust and dealing with the guilt and resentment that built up over the past few months. We've agreed to give each other space while still being supportive. We're not back to our old closeness yet, but we're making progress. As for me, I'm slowly putting my life back together. The stress of the lawsuit took a toll on my health and career. I've changed jobs to get away from the gossip and drama that followed me at my old workplace. I'm now working for a small online publication, which allows me to work from home and avoid the public eye for a while. I'm still in therapy, working through the anxiety and trauma from this experience. Some days are better than others, but I'm learning coping strategies and slowly regaining my confidence. I've also started volunteering at a local women's shelter, which has been healing in its own way. Some family members have apologized for doubting me, while others still maintain I should have kept quiet. I've had to distance myself from those who continue to blame me for ruining Lisa's marriage. It's been painful, but I'm learning to prioritize my well-being over keeping the peace. The whole experience has taught me a lot about standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. I don't regret telling Lisa the truth, but I underestimated how challenging the aftermath would be. I'm proud of myself for not backing down, but I'm also working on forgiveness, both for those who doubted me and for myself for the times I almost gave up. Our small town is slowly moving on from the scandal, but I know things will never be quite the same. I'm considering moving to a bigger city for a fresh start, but I'm hesitant to leave my family and support system behind. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey. Your encouragement gave me strength when I needed it most. I hope my story can help others find the courage to stand up against abuse and manipulation, no matter how powerful the abuser might seem.